Imagine this. The same kids who shoved me into lockers, laughed at my stutter, and told me I'd never make it were now sitting across from me in an interview room, nervously waiting for me to decide their future. They once said I'd never succeed. Now, they were begging me for a job. But the way I handled it, even I didn't see that coming. Before we get to that insane moment, let me take you back to where this all began, because you have to see the whole picture to understand why this was the most satisfying day of my life. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone, which sounds nice until you're the kid everyone decided was different. I wasn't athletic, I wasn't cool, I had a stutter that got worse when I was nervous, and I was poor. The kind of poor where you pray no one notices you're wearing the same shoes every year. Every single day was a battlefield. There was a group of guys who had made it their full-time job to remind me I was worthless. They tripped me in the hallways, threw my homework out the bus window, called me failure like it was my name. At first, I tried to ignore them. Then, I tried to fight back, which just made it worse. Fast forward to graduation day. Everyone's lined up in their caps and gowns, ready to get their diplomas. I'm trying to focus on the fact that I made it this far without completely breaking. But as I walk across the stage to get my diploma, I hear laughter behind me. One of the bullies, let's call him Jason, leans toward his friends and says, just loud enough for me to hear, "Doesn't matter, he's gonna end up broke anyway. Total failure." They all laugh, right there, in front of teachers, in front of my parents. That moment, it burned into my brain. It was like someone poured gasoline on my soul and lit a match. I remember sitting in my room that night, still wearing the cap and gown, and saying out loud, I will prove every single one of them wrong. And that's where the real story begins. Act 2, the rise. Hard work, setbacks, and growth. The grind years. Right after graduation, I didn't have a clear plan. College? Not possible. No money. Parents? Supportive, but struggling to keep the lights on. So I worked every job I could find, cleaning tables at a diner, stocking shelves on the night shift, mowing lawns for neighbors just to afford data so I could watch free coding tutorials on YouTube. Most nights I fell asleep with my laptop open, rewinding the same JavaScript tutorial for the 10th time because I just couldn't get it. But I kept going. The first win. 2 years later, I built my first real project, a simple website for a local bakery. They paid me $300. It wasn't much, but it was the first time someone said, "You made this? We'll pay you for it." That tiny win became my obsession. I built another website, then another. By year 3, I was making enough to quit my retail job. I turned my freelancing into a small business. Just me, a beat-up laptop, and a dream. Setbacks that almost broke me. But success isn't a straight line. I got scammed by a fake client who disappeared after I finished their project. I lost my first real business pitch to a competitor and spent 3 weeks doubting everything. There were nights I thought about giving up, but every time I wanted to quit, I remembered that graduation day, that laugh, that sentence, "You'll never succeed," and I'd get back to work. By year 5, I had hired my first employee, then my second. We started building apps for small businesses. I was no longer just a freelancer. I was running an actual company. We got an office. We got a logo. We got clients that made my mom tear up when I told her who they were. And then came the day that made it all worth it. It was a random Tuesday morning when my assistant knocked on my door. "Hey," she said, holding a folder, "we've got 2 job applicants you might want to look at personally." I glanced at the resumes. My heart stopped. Jason? And his right-hand guy from high school? They were applying for junior developer positions. I told HR to schedule them both for the same day. I made sure I would be the one leading the interview panel. When they walked into the office and saw me sitting there, suit, laptop open, nameplate on the desk, their faces turned pale. I smiled. "Please, sit." For the next 20 minutes, I asked them technical questions. I stayed professional. I didn't mention high school. Until the very end. I closed my laptop slowly. "Jason," I said, looking right at him, "do you remember what you told me at graduation?" Silence. He swallowed hard. "Yeah," he muttered. I leaned forward. "Well, I didn't fail. I built this company. And today, you're here asking me for a job." They both stared at the floor. I could have humiliated them. I could have dragged them on social media. I could have hired them just to make them suffer. But instead, I stood up and said, "I built this company to give people a chance, but I also built it to be a place where respect matters. And you two never respected me. So I think we're done here." And I walked out. That was the last time I ever saw them. But I heard later they told people that interview was the most humbling day of their lives. That day wasn't just about revenge. It was closure. It was proof that I didn't just survive, I won. And here's the best part. I didn't need to tear them down to feel like I'd risen above. All I had to do was keep building, keep working, and let them see for themselves. If you've ever been bullied, if someone's ever told you that you wouldn't make it, prove them wrong. Like this video if you're on that journey. Drop a comment telling me what you're working toward, because I want to hear your story. And subscribe for more stories like this. Trust me, you'll want to see what happened at my 10-year reunion.